Well, good evening everyone. Mikee Kung Pao here. I wanted to discuss a very serious topic with you tonight. Of course, we're in the penalty phase, aren't we, of the trial of J.A. I want to talk about somebody who is a pathologically lying, spying, stalking, email, text, bank account hacking, journal stealing, girlfriend harassing, home invading, dog kicking, and probably dog killing, thief of rings and journals, soulless, manipulating, heartless, hyper-possessive, egotistical, narcissistic, false allegations slandering, including false allegations of abuse and pedophilia slandering, personality disordered, sociopathic, premeditating, psychotic, torture knife murderer from hell, and those are just her best points. Whether a person like that should receive justice or mercy. What do you think? Justice or mercy? We saw her today again with the tears and the self-pity. Those tears were not for Travis and not for his family, except in the remotest sense. She might be able to watch it like you would watch a movie and gin up some emotion that way. But we know for a fact that she feels absolutely no remorse whatsoever. No remorse and no repentance. And we're going to cover that later in the video. Alright, and if you want mercy or forgiveness or, some kind of mitigating consideration, then what's required is genuine from the heart confession of your crime, and genuine from the heart apology, and genuine from the heart repentance, genuine sorrow, turning in a whole different direction, admitting to all the evil that you did and why you did it. Jodi's not going to do that. Don't care what she says next week when she gets up and makes her statement. She'll probably make some half-ass statement about having regrets and regretting causing pain to Travis' family and regretting pain she caused her own family. We're going to hear all that nonsense, but we're not going to hear what we really need to hear in order to have any sympathy or empathy or feel anything in our heart. I was telling Mrs. Mikee Kung Pao earlier, I wasn't planning to say this to you tonight, but I'm going to say it anyway. I have one area and one area only where I have any sympathy for Jodi, and that's that she was born without a soul. And by that I don't mean that she isn't going to live in eternity in hell, because I believe she will. No soul, you understand what I mean. No real love or empathy for anyone but herself. And the way it will always be. And a sociopath doesn't really quite have a choice in this matter. But they still can choose whether to do right or wrong, and they understand what moral choices are. So I have no sympathy for her for committing her crimes and why she did it. It was a possessive, jealous rage why she did it. Like most sociopaths, she wanted something like this. And if anything stand in the way, including the guy she stand in the way of getting the guy she they have to go. And that's the way a sociopath thinks. So we can't extend any mercy or forgiveness to her because she don't ask anyone. God can't forgive her because she's not asking. She's been taunting God all along, as you know. And, God knows I didn't hurt Travis. I would never hurt Travis. If I had to stand before God for this crime, this heinous crime, on and on in that vein. So, let me get on to a couple more points. And then we'll watch the clips from today. I'm not in my usual funny, jovial mood. I'm very happy that justice is being done in this case. But after watching the brother Steven and the sister Samantha today, I'm just filled with an overwhelming sadness. I think everyone can relate. I saw Detective Flores, he had a tear, and, it was genuine, it wasn't faked emotion. I saw a lot of that going on, and of course it's very understandable. And of course the reason why court got postponed to next week is the defense said, hey, we got to do something to get this out of everyone's mind for a few days before we move on. So that's why I'm sure they got the judge aside and came up with some excuse or other to postpone everything until next week. But I don't think it will work. I think the jury will remember, and I sure hope so. They've certainly been a good jury so far. They haven't let anyone down. They've done their job, and they've done it well, and they've done it with dignity, and just as Travis' family has sat there with dignity. All right, I don't want to ramble on and bore you to death with my own feelings, but I think some of you will resonate with what I'm saying and feel the same way, and I just had to get it out, you know. Even though I have no time this week to do videos, I had to sit down and get this out before I go crazy. Okay, why is it... Okay, why were we so obsessed with this trial? You know, Jodi didn't do this. She didn't knife my family member or yours. So why are we so obsessed with this trial? You know, thousands of murders happen every year, and you know, all kinds of atrocities happen all the time. You heard about the things going on, the Boston bomber, the guy that kidnapped those 3 women and held them for 10 years and, you know, tortured and harmed some. On and on and on and on and on. Okay. And of course, all that's out there all the time. We know that. We know there are, you know, 1 billion plus adherents to the religion of peace in the world, and about 5% of them, which is, of course, that's 50 million people, want to blow up, kill, torture, and behead the rest of us in Western civilization. That's 50 million terrorists. And the other billion peaceful adherents to the religion of peace, the majority of them support that 5 million, by the way. That's just an established fact, every poll they ever take. So there's a lot of evil in the world. You know, man has a black heart and evil, and Junk Collector and many, many others have made this point. And it's true. We're all in need. We all are flawed, fallen creatures, and in need of forgiveness. You know, in need of... If I can talk to you theologically for a moment, because I am going to for a moment later on, and this isn't the time or place to have a serious theological discussion, but maybe it is. You know, we're all in need of a Savior for our sins, but this is not unconditional. God does not unconditionally forgive people, whether you believe in God or you don't, or you believe in Christianity or you don't. He never extends unconditional forgiveness. There is a condition. There's a couple of them. One is a confession and repentance, and the other is accepting Christ as the propitiation and justice for that evil that we had done. And God's justice has to be satisfied. Well, in Jodi's case, there is no repentance and there is no remorse, and so justice has to be done. And so, I started this particular comment about saying, why are we obsessed with this case? I think the reason why, there are a lot of reasons why, of course. None of them are the ones that the talking heads on TV tell you on that crazy clown HLN network or anything. It's not because she's beautiful, because Jodi's not beautiful inside or out, you know. She's extraordinarily ugly inside, and on the outside she's not beautiful either. So I have nothing to do with that. It doesn't have to do with salacious sex details. Nobody cared about that. It was to bore us to death when we had to hear all that stuff. And it was really just a big turnoff. So none of those typical reasons, you know, young people, blah, 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 a woman instead of a man, you know. Of course, if a man commit this crime, he would have been sentenced, you know, 5 months ago after a one-day trial, not 5 months of this made-up nonsense we had to listen to. But nonetheless, I know I'm being really serious tonight, but you understand why. Nonetheless, I think the reason we're all obsessed with this trial isn't just the publicity. I think that Jodi is so such a pure distillation of pure unmitigated evil in almost every characteristic and facet of her personality that it's kind of hard to turn away from. And you heard the list of adjectives I used earlier. I could use a lot more, probably about 100. However many there are in the English language to define evil, they all apply. And the thing of it is Jodi is like a proxy for all the evil we see in society and the people that support that evil. You know, even Jodi, as evil as she is, she has a little band of psycho troll supporters, you know, because they're attracted to evil, because they're black-hearted evil people themselves. That's either that or they're just, you know, juvenile, puerile, you know, people sitting in their mother's basement, you know, trying to poke people in the eye all day because that's the only way they can get any attention. It's one or the other, but it doesn't matter. Jodi represents to us evil, and we want to see justice. And one of the very heartening things and encouraging things I found about this whole trial process, certainly I've never been obsessed with a trial like this before, and I've watched many dozens in my lifetime, you know, followed them on TV, followed them on the internet, various different ways. I told you before I was a jury foreman twice, sat through trials twice, and been in the court system before. Hey, not as a guy being charged with anything, okay? Anyway, So I'm quite familiar with the court process. Why did this one grab us? It's because Jodi is a proxy for our feeling that justice should be done. And I'm sorry, I'm very heartened to see the outpouring of support for Travis's family make me feel a little bit better about humanity and whether they might turn to God and whether they might fill their heart with something like love for their fellow man if they ask for God to do that through them. You know, a vast majority, 98% of you out there understand exactly what's going on here with Jodi and want justice to be done. I found that very encouraging. So I think it's her proxy. She just represents evil, and we want to see that destroyed. Why is the death penalty important in this case? Why not life without parole? I know a lot of you don't believe in the death penalty, and I understand. Take no pleasure in seeing the death of anyone. I wouldn't want to witness anyone's death. I wouldn't want to witness even a heinous, evil person like her being executed, even in a humane way like the needle, if she get it. But the reason that the death penalty in this case is so important, there's a number of reasons. But let's look at them very quick before we get into the clips. I don't want to talk too long. The first one is, if we're going to have justice and nip this evil of Jodi Arias in the bud, we got to separate her from her means of transmitting her evil out to the general prison population and out to the outside world. And one way that you do that is you put someone on death row. Instead of being in the general population doing her art and her books and writing journals and writing a book about herself and making deals. I know she can't make any profit and all that, but she'd still be wheeling and dealing. You know her, how she is. She would get a little band of followers. She'd keep her little psychotic outside followers following her, and she'd spread their evil to them, and they would spread it out by slandering Travis more for who knows how many years, with all those false allegations that we already proved in the other videos, and a whole bunch of other people did too, and Chris Hughes in his interview. Anyway, so one reason is we've got to stop her evil, vile spew from infecting society any further. And the way to do that is to stick her on death row, where she loses all those communication privileges with all those other inmates and with the outside world to a great degree. She'd still get a little bit of phone calls. She can have a visitor now and then. But it would cut about 90% of it down of what she could really do, to continue to spread her evil ways. And, of course, the other reason is that Travis Alexander's family obviously want the death penalty for her, for some of the reasons I just outlined. They're tired of seeing their brother slandered mercilessly, unfairly, unjustly, with lies and, libelous, horrible allegations that we know are all false and have already been proven to be false from this, toxic poison inside her. And so for their sake, for true justice for their sake, and after hearing their statements today, I think you can understand, even if you don't agree with the death penalty, that Jodi should be on death row. And I don't care if she sits on death row for 50 years or until she dies, wrinkles up like a prune or whatever. It don't matter to me. But I just want to see her separated from all the good things in life she doesn't deserve to have access to. And I want to see her cut off from spreading her poison. All right, that's my piece for today. I wanted to say one more thing. And then we'll get on to the clips. If you noticed, even the attorneys, of course, are distancing themselves from Jodi. They tried to get out of this case. The judge told them, no, you're stuck. And if you watch these clips, I pointed out in a couple of places how Wilmot pulls away from her. Jodi soon will be standing all alone, and that's where she belongs. And I told you I was going to say one more little theological thing, and that is about the concept of hell. And I know people think of it as a place of burning fire and sulfur and all that kind of thing. Some guy running around with horns. And of course, that's a mischaracterization of what hell is. The Bible uses a lot of metaphorical language for hell. And the metaphorical language is there to try to convey something about that realm, and that spiritual realm. And the something that's being conveyed is it's not a good place, okay? It's because it's called a lot of things in the Bible. A place of outer darkness, a place of separation from God, a place of weeping, a place of sorrow, a place of corruption and death, and on and on and on in that vein. And what happens, I think, God doesn't send people to hell in my belief system. They send themselves. because he gives them an opportunity to be part of his family, and they reject that opportunity, and so they send themselves, and they consign themselves. And I think this will be the case with Jodi. And when she gets there, it is a place of emptiness and blackness, and so it's fitting. And it's fitting for the rest of us who want to become part of God's family that we don't have to spend eternity with people like this. So that's where justice is. Not that God wants to torture anybody for eternity. It's that he says, look, if you don't want to be part of my family, fine. Then I'll give you your wishes, you know the saying, maybe you've heard this saying. In the end, it comes down to one thing. Either we say, thy will be done, or God says to us, thy will be done, You don't want to be part of my family? Okay, I'll send you somewhere where none of my attributes exist, and none of my creation exists. The things that flow from God, beauty and trees and flowers and love and music and, all of creation, really, that's good. And in hell, none of those things will exist. So Jodi, if you watch her, if you watch that pathetic expression on her face, the little sad, self-pity, sad for myself expression, as people get further and further away from her, I believe that's just a little snapshot of what hell on earth would be like, and then that would give you the bigger picture of the much more extreme version of an eternity spent that way, separated from everything good and everyone good. And so she needs to be on death row. That's what justice is in this case. I hope that I haven't been too self-indulgent by going on and on in this monologue. If you watch these clips with me about what happened today, you'll understand why I'm in this particularly serious kind of mood. And then I will attach on my previous death penalty video for those who haven't seen it, that takes a little bit more of a lighthearted look, but still on the very serious, but I mean it in a serious way. The lighthearted look is still in a very serious way about why the death penalty applies here. So let's move on, and I hope to do a vlog pretty soon, going on vacation on the weekend for a few days. So, but I'm looking forward to coming back with you and discussing her penalty when it be applied, and I very much hope that it is the just penalty. Oops, one more thing. I forgot for a second, okay. We also know, I need to mention, that of course it was a lie when Jodi said she didn't want the death penalty, or she wanted the death penalty. Oh, please just give me the death penalty. It turned out that that was a lie as well. And how do we know that? And that's because in Arizona, she can stipulate to skipping this penalty phase and stipulate to the death penalty, and she didn't do that. She's desperately trying to cling on to life and be in the general population where she continued to slander Travis and everything if possible. This is a very important consideration. So she's just manipulating everyone in that interview that she did, which I put a video up about. So, go look at that if you get a chance, or look at any of the other stuff people did. And, don't go with no sociopath. I'll say that at the beginning and the end. Let's move on. Alright everyone, I'm only going to show one clip from the aggravation phase. This is just to show how desperate this defense is, and the reaction of the Emmy when Wilmot asks basically her first question of Cross. So you can listen to this one.
After the injury to the neck, the cut to the throat, Mr. Alexander would have been, it would have been a fatal wound within a few seconds, right?
Yes.
And within a few seconds, he would have passed away then.
Yes.
And after he dies, he doesn't feel anything anymore.
Correct.
I just wanted you to see his expression. Like, did you really just ask that question? When someone dies, they don't feel anything anymore. Okay, so that was basically the trend. That's about what the kind of straws they're grasping at. We'll look at now, move on from the aggravation phase, which was cut and dried, and we'll move on to the penalty phase. Okay, when I wanted to start the penalty phase clips, I wanted to really show for a moment the Travis Alexander family and what a complete class act they are from beginning to end of this whole trial, including what they did today. And I think we're going to look at that in contrast to the other side as well. So I'm going to start with that.
And may offer evidence in rebuttal to the defense's mitigation evidence. This evidence is not a new aggravating circumstance. The defense may offer evidence in rebuttal to the state's evidence.
I have such
The
respect for
defendant
these
may make a
folks.
statement, but she is not required to do so.
Now let's contrast
You
that
decide on a verdict.
with what we
Once
have
you
on this
agree on the
side.
verdict, you will return to court.
Okay, you know I've made jokes before about this woman here being, a dream date contestant or something. But I'm not going to make many jokes today because the subject's just too serious. But I want to point her out because this is the contrast between the Travis Alexander family and the supporters of Jodi. And I want to note that this woman last night was tweeting out, as she frequently does, on Jodi's behalf. After Jodi's phony tears in the aggravation phase yesterday, she went home that night and tweeted on Jodi's behalf selling t-shirts about this whole thing. And I think that just characterizes the entire business as far as her supporters, her psycho trolls, and people like that. They would want their names to be spoken here. We won't speak their names. And so I do have a bit of sympathy for Jodi's mother, who has stood by her and is one of the many lives ruined by Jodi. But I'm not going to say much more on that topic. Let's move on to where we get the Nurmi statement. At first he don't seem to quite know what he's doing, but anyway. I think this guy is the very definition of slovenly, if you watch his moves. Slovenly and sloppy and in his thinking and his whole approach to this trial. But that's a good match for his client, I think. And let's see, what we're going to look at next. Mitigating, he's going to talk about mitigating circumstances. Why we should consider that Jodi should have a right to life, a good life in jail, continuing to do art and music and college and all the other things she does there, writing to all her little fan club, writing books, whatever. So let's take a look at that for a moment.
But you don't have to agree on the reasons. You've heard mitigating circumstances about Miss Arias' artistic talent. One of you could find that to be mitigating.
All right, let's talk about that artistic talent for just a second. I showed you this before, but we're going to look at it real quick again. Her artistic talent is the same as all the other things she's done in her life, namely a complete and total fraud and deception. This is what we mean by her artistic talent. She plagiarizes from a magazine a copyrighted image, traces over it like we learned to do when we were 5 years old, and then adds some of her shading. Okay, that's not her original art. That's something that you learn to do in middle school or preschool or something like that. Here's another example. That's the original. That's the Jodi copy. Okay, she calls it her art. It's not her art at all. And so like everything else that we know about Jodi, that's the original. That's her faked copy after overtracing and doing a little shading. Like everything else about Jodi, it's just a fake. All right, and what else does he talk about in these circumstances?
Another jury could say, that doesn't matter to me. But her lack of criminal history does, and that's a reason to give life.
They listed 8 things. We'll go over them real quick when we get a chance. But they're all completely bogus and have nothing to do with the murder whatsoever or with whether Jodi should be given consideration for life. Let's see what, I think I have those. Let's scroll ahead and take a look. I think he's got the list up here that he put up.
Now listed before you are 8 mitigating factors.
And we'll discuss those real quick.
The defendant was 27 at the time of the offense and she had no prior criminal history.
All right, let's blow this up and take a good look at it. All right. First of all, of course, her age is completely irrelevant, what age you commit a crime, unless you were a teenager or something, brain not totally developed. No prior criminal history. This is like saying Adolf Hitler did kill 6 million Jews, but he didn't do anything bad before then. So we should maybe let him, not have death penalty. Defendant was a friend of somebody who? A psychopath? Well, they're going to bring Daryl Brewer or somebody in. So what? Has nothing to do with anything. Or they're going to bring her friend from childhood who hasn't even seen her in 10 years or something. Has no idea what she was doing later in life. Lack support from her family is the next one. Did she lack support from her family? Her mother's been there every day of her trial. Furthermore, her mother was trying to raise her right, took a wooden spoon to her behind a couple times, and later that was called abuse. But Jodi, on her side, was kicking her mother and assaulting her mother and screaming at her mother, treating her father horrible, running away. She moved out of the house on her own when they told her she had to live by some rules. She couldn't handle that. She was growing pot on the roof, everything under the sun. Okay, it was her not supporting them and being a family member, not them not supporting her. Okay, suffered abuse and neglect as a child and an adult. This is laughable on its face. Every abuse claim Jodi came up with has been false and bogus. Best she could do was a wooden spoon to the behind when she was a child. Defendant tried to make the best of her life. What does this mean? She didn't try to make the best of her life. What did she do? What are they going to list? Did she try to go to college? Did she try to go to trade school? No, none of those things. She didn't even graduate high school. She had a reasonably high IQ and a reasonably high energy level, and she did nothing with it. They're trying to say she was a photographer or something. She never sold a single image. It had nothing to do with anything. She liked to drive around and take pictures. Big deal. She consistently tried to improve herself. In what way? By becoming a mass murderer? Not a mass murderer, but a premeditated knife murderer? How did she try to improve herself? What college did she go to? None. Okay? She was trying to leech off her boyfriends and get them to support her, and that's what they did. And then she wanted to make babies so she could spawn some more evil people like her, and she decided Travis was the one that was going to have to do that, and if he didn't want to do that, then he needed to die. A talented artist? We just addressed that one, didn't we? She's not an artist at all. She's nothing but a fraud and a deceiver. All right, so we've gone down that list, and like I told you, this is kind of serious tonight, so I'm not going to make jokes about it. Let's scroll ahead to the next thing. I think we were going to talk about her desire to be a mother and all of that. I think they brought that up. Let's see what they say about that.
Her desire to join the Mormon Church was in that line. Her desire to improve herself, to maintain her goals of motherhood, marriage, and having a business.
Okay, her goals of motherhood, marriage, country, apple pie, and, faith. Okay, why don't you complete the list, Nermi? Meanwhile, of course, none of that had anything to do with anything. She became a Mormon because she was trying to snag Travis in her web. She did dirty sex with him and taught him all about that and tried to play the little schoolgirl role and trap him with that tape because she was trying to suck him into her dirty little web. Everything she did was trying to suck Travis into her dirty little web. So, of course, this is a completely false argument again. I want you to note something about Jodi today. First of all, she made herself look really mousy, I think probably on purpose, we're going to see the phony tears and everything later. I think she had some real tears today because her eyes got red, her nose got red. But I think those tears were for herself, or perhaps when she saw Travis' family and saw what love they would actually have for their brother, and she's thinking about how empty and black she is inside. I don't know. Anyway, she has this impassive sort of strange look on her face today. But let's move on from there to something I think you should see, which is pretty important. All right, what I wanted to look at here when the jury gets up for their break is that I think Jodi is a pariah now, even to her attorneys. They tried to quit over the weekend, and they weren't allowed to, or early this week they were not allowed to by the judge. So I think they've had enough of Jodi. I think there was a major falling out. But let's take a look at her BFF Wilmot.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go back to the jury room for approximately 5 minutes.
And watch what
You'll be
happens.
recalled at that time. Please remember the admonition.
Jodi going to try to talk to Wilmot. Wilmot going to move away. Yeah, isn't that the telling scene? I thought that was very interesting. Everybody had enough of Jodi, even her BFF, former BFF, and her attorneys. And then Nermi goes up to the podium, and let's see what they do here when they go up to the podium. With Juan. And I think we're in the wrong spot, but oh yeah, here we are. Nermi always looked to me like a kid being lectured by a teacher, whenever they're in this situation. And he's so much bigger than Juan. But anyway, we're going to move along because, I just have no humor in today's activity. Alright, I'm not going to play very much of the family impact today, just a little bit. A couple of clips, because it all just speaks for itself. You got to watch it all, of course, if you haven't seen it, because it's so powerfully moving and so important to this case. But we'll look at Steven, Travis's brother, first.
Travis was my big brother. I was sleeping in after working a 12-hour graveyard shift in the Army. I woke up to the sound of my wife crying walking up the stairs. I will never forget what she said. Samantha, I cannot tell him. You have to. My wife handed the phone to me. It was my sister Samantha. She was crying hysterically. She told me, Steven, Travis is dead. I thought I was dreaming. She didn't really have any details at the time. So I just gave the phone back to my wife. A few moments later, we found out he was killed. I remember walking out my back door, screaming. I don't want these nightmares anymore. I don't want to have to see my brother's murderer anymore. I don't want to hear his name dragged through the mud anymore.
I really needed to get that in because that is so important. This family needs finally peace and relief, and there's only one way they're going to get it, and that is if this monster is put behind bars on death row for the rest of her natural life. I don't care if they kill her or don't kill her, but she needs to be separated from the general population and from all the good things that those people get and put away. That's justice for Travis and his family right there. So we needed to get that one in. And he goes on to say he does not want his name dragged through the mud anymore. Did we just hear that part? I think we did. Yeah.
I've been hospitalized several times for ulcers and came very near to death.
Okay, this whole family was wrecked. If you listen to the whole testimony, his marriage was ruined. His children, all the other siblings, the other people suffered horribly in many, many different ways. And of course, they've all lost all kinds of income and job problems and everything to come and be here every day for this trial to make sure justice is done for their brother. And he goes on to say he can't wait for this to end. And we'll scroll up to that point for a second.
Much. And I cannot wait for this to end so that we can all get back to our lives.
Yeah, amen to that. And what I say is that when this is over and Jodi is sentenced, she should vanish from the face of the earth completely forever. We should never hear her name again. We shouldn't hear anything about her. And nobody should pay any attention to her whatsoever. And hopefully that will be in a small cell on death row where she won't have access to the outside world and to write books and all those other things she wants to do. So let's move on to see what his sister Samantha say a couple of things in her statement, because it was just, the whole thing was so powerful and moving. I'm not going to try to comment on it. It speaks for itself. I just want to show you a clip of her real quick and remind her.
Travis used to write out his day on a flashcard.
Well, this was also very
The last one he wrote said to call Steven. I never got that call.
Loss of our beloved brother and family member. From a family of 8 siblings, we have always been there for each other, through the good times and the bad. We lost our father on Travis's 20th birthday and our mother shortly after. And through this trying time in our lives, Travis was the one that got us through the pain and the hardship, because he was our strength.
Is there anybody that have any doubt this woman should rot in a small cell and not have the privileges of doing her art, her reading, her writing, her journaling, her college, and whatever, having her little fan club and all of that. This woman, Arias, this monster. Anyway, I want to show you one more thing, because even today, with all the tears for herself, tears for not for Travis and his family, we know what her tears were really all about, the ones that were real, because she's not capable of feeling anything toward anyone but herself. And but I want to show you one more thing, that even after all this testimony today from the siblings, how evil Jodi is, where at the end of this thing she does the throat slit move again. It's very, very clear, and you got to see that before we sign off of these clips. It shows that her heart is still filled with evil and hatred, and she has no remorse, no repentance, nothing that would lead anyone to be able to show any mercy to her of any kind at any time. And let's take a look at that before we're done. Okay, watch this move. Okay, that was very clear, and we know what it means. She's done it before. She's extraordinarily angry at everyone, and that's what that's all about. Okay, now I'm gonna add on to these clips the original video I did on the death penalty. I did that many weeks ago, and it's not nearly as serious as these clips we just looked at. So it's in a much more lighthearted vein. I hope you understand. And if you've seen it before, feel free to just not watch it or whatever, if you're not interested. But it still makes some points that perhaps need to be made here about the death penalty, and just in a lighter vein. But I think there is no other possible just outcome than to put this woman on death row. Whether she ever gets the needle or not is irrelevant. So let's move on to the next thing. Hello everyone, Mikey Kung Pao back here. Talk about a very serious subject today. I gotta talk really fast because my videos go so long. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep it down to 10 minutes today. Okay, anyway. With this Rav Ayaret testimony going on, which is gonna go on forever, I think, don't you think she would make a good propaganda minister for the Nazi party? Somebody tell me she likes Stalin and Hitler. Only reason I thought of that before, only reason I don't bring it up, as soon as you use Hitler in an argument, then usually that means you lose the argument already. Okay, so anyway, that's why I don't bring it up, but she's a horrible person. Anyway, while we wait for that, we're going to look at that serious topic today, death penalty. Okay, but first I want to introduce you to someone. This someone very important, okay? This right here. This named Barbie. This is a girl named Barbie. And I want to show you what she do. What Barbie do, I got something here that she like. Let's see. Okay, we got to get her situated. Sorry for little production delay here, okay? Get her situated where you can see her. And we're going to show her something that she like right here. Watch this, watch this. Whoa, what that? Yummy dandelions, okay? Love them dandelions, okay? Let's see if she'll have another one. And then again, explain to you why we're doing this, okay? Let's see, watch this tongue, watch that little tongue. Watch that little Barbie tongue come out. See that tongue? Okay, here we go. Okay, don't want to be mean and tease her or anything, so we give her that. Okay, now Barbie, she's a very nice reptile. And she, in Asia, they are really big on dragons. And what this here is called a bearded dragon. See the beard on her? Okay, that's why she called a bearded dragon. Really, she come from Australia, ran down under, so kind of weird to call her a dragon. But anyway, so that be Barbie, and so you're probably saying to me, hey, what does Barbie have to do with Jodi Arias and the death penalty? Okay, that would be a very good question. And the answer to that is, I have no idea. Okay, no, wait, we're going to tie it in. Okay, I promise, okay. So what we're going to talk about is, we said before, when we consider the death penalty, by the way, I'm very thirsty. I think I'm going to get a little glass of water the way Jodi Arias do it, She do it like this. She like a robot. She hold her hand way up there, and then she pour the water in like that, and then watch what she do. She don't drink like a normal person. She like move her whole arm over, and like that. And this tied into the whole topic of our subject today, which is when considering the death penalty, should we decide whether Jodi really a human being or not, whether we treat her right with the respect of a human being, because she don't treat us with any respect. So should we treat her with the respect of a human being? So the first thing is, I think she's a little bit reptilian, and we're going to look at that in a little video clip or two. And she might be an Aryan, you know, with the arm and everything, the way she... Remember when she all, you know, posed like that, and I show you that clip of the Aryans? So, you know, and she's running around spying in backyards like this and everything. Anyway, so here's a question I'm going to ask you before we get to that video clip. And that is, I love animals, like this Bobby and, you know, all the other animal we have. And I love all of nature, all of animal. Don't want to ever cure anything. And so I don't like the idea of killing a human being, if she be one. But the iterative problem once in a while you have, like, for example, I don't even want to kill a fly or an ant, you know. Mrs. Mikee comes past, she puts the thing outside when she finds them, you know, so they can go back to nature and everything. But if you have like a black widow or a brown recluse spider up in the corner of your house there in your bedroom or something, you know, and they bite, if they can bite you, you know, you can actually die from the reaction. They're very toxic and poisonous and everything. And so what we do in a case like that, if something can poison and bite and do horrible things to others, sometimes what we have to do, we have to use this, okay? That's what we have to do. I'm sorry, it's just a fact of life, okay? Sometimes that was necessary. So we're going to consider that tonight. And we're going to look at a couple of video clips and everything, and then we'll be done. Go really fast. I told you I would talk really fast, so I don't go a half hour this time, go 10 minutes. Okay, let's just look at a couple of short clips here and see what Jodi Arias is doing in her cross-exam. This could show...
Yes or no? Did you see him during that encounter?
No remorse. This is the no remorse part, showing you. This is where she's spying on Travis.
I did not listen at first.
You didn't see him when you were there that night?
I did afterward, yes.
That night, ma'am. Listen to my question. That night, did you see Mr. Alexander inside that house? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, maybe, no.
And inside that house,
Later.
there was a female, right?
Look at her grin. I want you to see her grin. No remorse.
You didn't tell me her name.
Did I ask you?
She thinks she's going to outsmart the prosecutor. That's why she's grinning. That what sociopaths do. Watch.
So, did you recognize her?
No, I did not.
And he was there with the female, though. You were able to see her face, though, right?
Yes, sort of.
Well, yes,
Yes.
or sort of means two different
Yes,
things.
no,
or
maybe,
Were you able to
yes,
see her face
no.
or not?
Part of it was shadowed from the
Yes,
TV
no,
behind her, so I saw part of it.
Judge, she's not answering my question.
Just the way her whole testimony went. Always thinks she's going to fool the prosecutor.
Could you see her face? Yes or no?
Part of it.
And
Oh, I so
if you
smug.
were able to see,
I so
they were
smart.
making out, right?
Oh, yeah, they were.
And so is that a yes? They were making out, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I got you, prosecutor. Yeah, yeah.
And
You don't
part
got
of
me.
what you also saw was that her brassiere was
You see that
off,
tongue?
right?
Did you see that tongue?
I did not see that. I just saw her rehook her bra.
Pardon?
I didn't.
They were making out, right?
Yes.
Watch the tongue. Just the reptilian tongue. Watch close.
And part of what you also saw was that her
Did you see that? You saw that tongue come in and out. Okay.
brassiere was off, right?
I did not see that. I just saw her rehook her bra.
Pardon?
I didn't see it all the way off. I just saw
You
her rehook.
indicated that,
We're going to look how she will drink water. Watch how she drink it. Yeah, like a robot.
Yes.
and that you got upset about it, right?
Very, yes.
And after
Hear
you
about...
did lie to him, Mr. Alexander, right?
She write about making up messages and pretending to be him and pretending to be other people sent to him.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
So you think
That's the
that
way the whole interview went.
sending him
Okay, one more thing I want to
that
show you.
text message and telling him this is
Let's
the
go
second
up
part of the
here.
text message, that's not a lie even though you fabricated it.
That part was the lie.
I want you to see the reptilian tongue again. The reptile.
No.
Well, do you remember that you testified that you were at Mr. Alexander's home on June 4th, 2008 at the sink? Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And do you remember
Did you see that? Come out again. That little reptile tongue all the time.
telling us that
I don't know if
you
she's human.
dropped the glass in Mr. Alexander's house?
June 4th?
Whatever date you were there at Mr. Alexander's house.
Which June? Which June 4th?
And you were right about things that were significant.
Okay, gonna show you one more time, no remorse.
Some things.
The
Right, and in
S
fact, with
eating grin
regard
on
to,
her face.
This particular journal, you knew that you could almost write anything that you wanted in it because it was going to stay private, right?
No.
Well, let me show you.
Okay, we'll get rid of Jodi for now. Get rid of this one. And going to show you from her interrogation. This where she say, what's this part? Oh, no, first we're going to show you that she kicked a dog. And I think she killed a dog because it never come back again. I think I showed you this the other day. But it was considering in this death penalty thing because she got a whole history of hitting her brother with a baseball bat when she's small, injuring animals, killing animals, we think, the dog, and then all the other crazy things she do, psycho things she do. No, I never did anything wrong. Kicked a dog once, she said.
I was a freshman in high school, and I love.
She ruv animals, and that's why she killed him. Okay, get rid of that. You already know about the dog thing and all the other horrible things she do. Last but not least, I want to show you the clip where Jodi tells us what she wants in regard to the death penalty if she had killed Travis. Okay, let's listen to her closely and see if we can't fulfill her wishes.
Could my palm print have already been there when I touched it?
Could it have been the ninjas? Maybe?
This is over. This is absolutely over. You need to tell me the truth.
Listen, the truth is I did not hurt Travis.
Yeah.
Hey, so we're
Jodi, you can continue to do this.
Alternate universe.
The records check shows you that you has reported a gun stolen. 25 auto. Just happens to be the same caliber as the weapon used to kill him.
Excuse me, Detective. Semi-auto.
a 25 auto was used.
Wow, I'm shocked. A 25 auto was used to kill him? Wow. You just shocked me, Detective Flores. Let's go on.
Yeah, along with multiple stab wounds. Jodi, if you want, I can show you some pictures of him. Do you want to see pictures of him?
Part of me does and part of me doesn't.
Why? Because you don't want to remember?
No,
Jodi.
There's a morbid curiosity.
Okay, listen to that. A morbid curiosity. Okay, if somebody you really love is brutally killed, you're going to have curiosity to see them all stabbed up and everything? Okay, this show how evil she is. So think about this when we think about death penalty. This show no remorse. Not only does she have this morbid curiosity, want to gloat over what she did to him, but she's also thinking, I need to make sure whatever lies and lying stories I make up match them photos. Okay, that's what she's thinking. But now listen close to the end. Could this go to death penalty and whether she should have it?
Jodi,
I wanted to know how he died.
we can keep playing these games over and over again. I'm not going to believe you. When you start telling me the truth, then I can believe you.
Jodi, I caught you in
But I
8,000
can't
rise
deny
already.
this evidence. I can't. The trip you took doesn't make sense. The opportunity was
I'll
there.
say. I got a video on that.
There are pictures on that date with him. Your blood is in the house.
But I thought I destroyed the picture in the washing
Mixed with
machine.
his. Mixed. Not alongside, but mixed. Your hair is there with blood. And your palm print is there in blood. But it's over.
Could it have been my blood from
Your
before?
image is not important right now.
Okay, here it
Taking the
comes.
rest of your
Listen
life.
to this.
Listen, if I'm found guilty, I don't have a life. I'm not guilty. I didn't hurt Travis. If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty.
Was there anybody else with you?
If I hurt Travis, if I killed Travis, I would beg for the death penalty. I wonder if we should give Jodi her wishes at last. Okay, we're going to go back to our final comment and we be done. All right, now we consider whether or not Jodi be human or not. And, you know, when we watch her, and she look very reptilian and everything, and alien, and the way she drink the water, and the way, and when she's sitting here going like this all the time. Then we ask ourselves, are we really dealing with a human? But I think what we have to do, since death penalty is so serious a thing, we're going to have to give her a benefit of doubt and say that she is a human being, even if she is a sociopath with no empathy or feeling for anyone and no remorse. Okay, so I think that we should think about giving Jodi what she asked for, to be humane about it. And what she did was she asked for the death penalty. Remember, she said, if I be guilty of killing Travis, I would beg for the death penalty. Well, it's only merciful to give someone what they're begging for. So I think that's a consideration, don't you? And so the other thing we're going to think about, you know, I don't like to see another person be killed, even a very evil person like Jodi, or evil people like Lighthearted, who was an accessory to murder after the fact, in my opinion, with her horrible smear against Travis. But, and her excusing all of Jodi's horrible abuse and saying Travis that way. But anyway, I don't particularly want to think about, I take no joy in the death of someone. But here's the thing. If she's going to stay in jail instead of having the death penalty, then I think what we should do is have her go out in the desert each day for about 8 hours or so and dig sand holes, looking for that gun that she stole from her grandparents that she put a bullet in Travis' head until she find it. Okay, and if she find it, then maybe we give her a better duty, like breaking rocks or something for the next 40 years into gravel. Okay, if we do something like that, then I'm all for life in jail instead of death penalty. But the way it is in jail right now, okay, she's sitting there doing art and going to school and college courses and everything. These are all the kind of thing I wish I were doing if I weren't working. Okay, I'd be doing art and music and going to college and taking classes and doing all that kind of thing. Look, is that really a just punishment for what she do to Travis? And the fact that she's trying to do it all over again with her defense team, smearing him day after day after day after day. Okay, so here's my thought on that. And then the second thing is, the Jodi fan club, who mad all the time saying we forgive Jodi, and like I told you, they got no right to forgive Jodi. How can we forgive Jodi? First of all, Jodi have no remorse for anything she do. Okay, she don't care she do all that stuff to Travis. She's proud of it. That she's smiling about it. She asking for the photos from the crime scene and everything. She went to gloat about it, and she tried to suppress a smile every time she thinks she's putting, you know, the knife into Travis' family and stuff. So I don't have my Jodi tool to have. Mrs. Mikee keeps stealing my knife and gun. Don't know what she's planning to do with them. Okay, hopefully she don't ask for me to have a warm shower pretty soon. Anyway. So we cannot give forgiveness to someone who have no remorse because they don't ask, okay? Even when God forgive us for things we do, it's when we confess those things and we have repentance. And that means remorse. And we say, you know, I actually really feel bad about that. I know I violate God's law and do something horrible. Then God is very forgiving. And this is the way we're supposed to be with others. When they have real remorse and they come to us and say, you know, I'm sorry that... I called you all them bad names and everything, and put all the horrible thing about you on Facebook and everything. Okay, well then maybe you think in your heart that maybe you forgive them if they are sincere and everything. But if they're not sincere and if they never ask you, how do you forgive? You can't forgive that, right? So there is no forgiveness. But the other thing is that make no sense, and this is where they like bobblehead dolls again. You know, the people that say this to me, you know, wooden head bobblehead dolls, you know, poopy heads, like I told you in the other video. The reason they strike me that way is that Jodi don't do nothing to them. How they feel that they say, oh, I forgive Jodi. How you forgive Jodi? Jodi didn't come to your house and chase off your new girlfriend and slash your tire and slash her tire and spy on you and invade your house and break into your email and your text and send things pretending to be as you and sending things to you from other people pretending to be you. She didn't do all this. And she didn't cut your throat, and she didn't put a gunshot in your head. She didn't stab you 29 times and make you die. And she didn't get up on the stand and tell horrible lies about you through all her defense witnesses and herself. Okay, she didn't do anything. So how do you say, I forgive Jodi? Jodi did nothing to you. See, I'm trying to talk too fast to get this video done. Now, I got to slow down, okay? Jodi did nothing to those people, only to the people who she really harmed, which are Travis and his family. So the only one who could really forgive Jodi would be Travis and Travis' family and God and the justice system of the people of the state of Arizona, who are wasting about $1 million paying people like LaViolette and Samuels and that defense team and that giant Nermi and everybody to do this everlasting case that go on forever. Okay, those are the only people that can fit. So this is what I say. Forgiveness between Jodi and God. Jury's job to arrange the meeting. Bye-bye.